Have you ever looked at a man and wondered what really makes him love? Is it attraction? Is it desire? Or is it something much deeper, something hidden in the quiet corners of his heart? The truth is, love for a man is not what we see in movies. It's not only about flowers, romantic dinners, or a perfect smile. Love, in the psychology of a man, is about something more raw, more vulnerable, and sometimes more fragile than we realize. Every man carries two stories inside him. One story is the face he shows the world, the strong one, the confident one, the man who doesn't break. The second story, that's the hidden one, the doubts, the insecurities, the silent fears that he doesn't dare to speak out loud. When a man falls in love, these two stories collide. He suddenly wants to be seen, not for the mask he wears, but for the person he truly is. And that is why when a man truly loves, it feels intense, protective, and all-consuming. Why does he love? Because deep down, he craves acceptance. The kind of acceptance where he doesn't have to perform. The kind where he doesn't have to prove his worth every second. A man may walk into the world and hear 1,000 times that he's not enough, not successful enough, not strong enough, not rich enough. But when he's with someone who makes him feel like he is enough, that's when love blooms inside him. He loves not because someone is perfect, but because someone makes him feel safe in his imperfection. Psychologists often say that men are not as detached as we think. In fact, men fall in love faster than women in many cases. Why? Because they're not just chasing beauty or charm, they're chasing that rare feeling of being seen, truly seen without judgment. But here's the irony. He may not know how to put that into words. He may not say, "I love you because you make me feel safe." Instead, he shows it differently through his actions, through his protection, through his silent. When a man truly loves, you will notice it in the way he stands by you when the world turns away. You will notice it in the way he listens, not just to your words, but to your silence. You will notice it in the way he sacrifices little things without even thinking twice. That sets the psychology of a man in love. It's not about what he says, it's about what he does. But here lies the fragile beauty of it all. The very things that make a man love deeply are also the things that make him afraid. Love exposes him. Love makes him vulnerable. Love strips away the armor he wears in front of everyone else. And when he feels that exposure, that vulnerability, he stands at a crossroads. One path leads him deeper into intimacy, connection, and truth. The other path, that's where fear begins to whisper, the fear of being hurt, the fear of losing himself, the fear of not being enough even for the person he loves most. This is where the story of man's love begins to twist. Because love, as powerful as it is never simple. It carries with it both beauty and risk. And while a man may love with all his heart, those unspoken fears can quietly begin to shape his choices. He loves deeply, but sometimes that depth is exactly what frightens him the most. And that right there is where the seeds of everything else, the lies, the distance, the leaving, begin to take root. Here steps the part no one likes to hear, the truth about why men lie. Most people assume men lie because they're selfish, careless, or unfaithful. But the psychology of a man tells a deeper story, one that's far more complicated and painfully human. So why does a man lie? Sometimes it's not to destroy love, but to protect it, or at least that's what he tells himself. A man is raised in a world that constantly whispers in his ear, be strong, don't cry, don't fail, don't show weakness. From a young age, he is taught that vulnerability equals weakness. He learns that mistakes must be hidden, flaws must be covered, and emotions must be locked away. So what happens when he carries this conditioning into a relationship? He begins to lie, not always in grand betrayals, but in small, quiet ways. He says, he eyes some fine set when he sets breaking inside. He says it's no big deals when he feels like the world is crushing him. He says, I'll take care of it when in reality, he has no idea how. These lies are not always about betrayal. They are often about fear. Fear of disappointing the woman he loves. Fear of being seen as inadequate. Fear of not living up to the role he thinks he must play. Psychology calls this ego protection, the instinct to defend one's self-image at all costs. For a man, lying sometimes feels safer than facing judgment. But here's the tragedy. Every lie, no matter how small, plants a seed of distance, a seed of doubt, a seed of disconnection. At first, it's barely noticeable. A little silence here, a half-truth there. But slowly, brick by brick, a wall begins to rise between him and the person he loves. And the higher that wall grows, the harder it becomes to climb back over. Sometimes, yes, men lie because of guilt, because they're hiding mistakes, temptations, or betrayals. But many times, they lie because they're terrified. Terrified of not being enough. Terrified of losing the one person they can't imagine life without. Think about this. A man who has been told his whole life, don't cry, don't break, don't fail. How does he confess his deepest truth without feeling like he's failing as a man? He can set. And so he lies. But here's the bitter truth. The very thing he uses to protect love, his lies becomes the very thing that poisons it. What starts as a shield ends as a sword. Lies fracture trust. And once trust is broken, love begins to bleed. A woman may forgive a man's weakness, his flaws, his vulnerability, but what she struggles to forgive is dishonesty. Because honesty is not just words. It is the foundation on which intimacy is built. Without it, no matter how strong the house of love looks on the outside, inside it crumbles. And yet, the psychology of a man is this: he doesn't always see the damage until it's too late. He doesn't realize that by hiding his truth, he is pushing away the very person he wants to hold close. Only. And here sets where the story turns darker. Because when lies pile up, when silence grows heavy, when the wall becomes too tall to break through, this is where the next chapter begins. The chapter not of loving, not of lying, but of leaving. And that, my friends, is the most painful truth of all. Now comes the hardest question of all. Why does a man leave the one he once promised to love forever? People often think it happens suddenly, that one day he just wakes up and decides to walk away. But the truth is, leaving rarely happens in a single moment. It happens slowly, quietly, piece by piece, long before the door finally closes. So why does he leave? Sometimes it sits because he feels invisible. A man who once gave his all may begin to feel that his efforts no longer matter, that his presence is taken for granted, that the spark he once brought is no longer seen. And when a man feels invisible, he begins to wonder, what am I even fighting for? Zip. Other times he leaves because the weight inside him becomes too heavy to carry. A man may be battling silent wars, financial pressure, self-doubt, fear of failure, and instead of opening up, he withdraws. When he cannot share that burden, he convinces himself that walking away is the only option. And sometimes this is the most tragic of all. He leaves not because love is gone, but because he never truly learned how to stay. You see, psychology teaches us something painful about many men. They are taught how to chase love, but not how to nurture it. They are taught how to win someone's heart, but not how to keep it alive when storms come. They are taught passion, but not patience, desire, but not endurance. So when conflict arises, when routine dulls the shine, when wounds begin to surface, he feels lost. And in that lostness, leaving feels easier than learning. Walking away feels safer than being vulnerable. Silence feels easier than honesty. But here sets the most heartbreaking truth. When a man leaves, it does not always mean he has stopped loving. Sometimes it means he doesn't know how to love through the pain. Sometimes it means he doesn't have the tools, the emotional language, the courage to stay and fight for what his heart still longs for. Think about this. A man may hold you at night, look into your eyes, and still carry the thought in his chest. I can't do this anymore. Not because he stopped caring, but because he feels like he is failing you, failing himself, failing the very picture of love he dreamed of. And so he leaves. Not with hatred, not always with betrayal, but with a heavy, silent grief that he may never speak of. But let's us not make this sound like an excuse, because leaving has consequences. When a man walks away, he leaves behind a heart that trusted him, a love that believed in him, a woman who thought she was enough, and the scars of that abandonment. They last, they shape how she loves again, how she trusts again, how she views herself again. This is why the psychology of a man leaving is one of the most painful truths to face, because it breaks not just one heart, but two. Here's the lesson I want you to carry. If you are someone who has been left, it is not always because you weren't enough. Many times it's because he wasn't ready. He wasn't taught how to love through difficulty. He wasn't brave enough to confront his own fears. And if you are a man listening right now, remember this. Strength is not in walking away when things get hard. Real strength is staying, opening up, being vulnerable, and learning to fight for the love you once begged for. Because leaving is easy, but building, healing, and staying, that is where true courage lies. And so the cycle completes itself. He loves, he lies, and eventually he leaves. But in every stage, the core truth remains the same. Men are not as unfeeling as they seem. They are human, fragile, longing, afraid. The tragedy is not that he loves. The tragedy is not even that he lies. The tragedy is that too often he never learns how to stay. And that is the painful psychology of man. If this message touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Psychology School. And I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced love that ended with silence instead of closure? Do you believe men leave because they stop loving or because they don't know how to love fully? Share your story in the comments below, because your words might be the light that helps someone else heal tonight.